Today we travel to the Balearic Islands, but we are not going to the beach, but to visit its capital, Palma, a magnificent city and a spectacular Mediterranean destination. Here begins a complete guide to Palma. We will first present you with a detailed list of the places you should not miss in the city. Talk about the best time to visit Palma, discuss how much time to spend in Palma, share a basic guide to accommodation, talk about ensaimadas, tell you how to get to Palma and how to get around the city, and finally share a one-day itinerary around Palma. Hola, ¿qué tal? Hello! Welcome to the channel where we share travel tips for the Iberian Peninsula, where we want you to be happier traveling through Spain and Portugal with the help of our videos and also of our travel guides. Let's start with a terminological clarification. The official name of the city was once Palma de Mallorca, but in 2016 the City Council decided to remove the Mallorca bit from the name. Currently, the official name of the city is simply Palma. Let's take a look at the map of Palma to see the location of the attractions of the city we are going to talk about. As you will see right away, almost everything is concentrated around the historic center of Palma, with the exception of Bellver Castle, farther to the left of the map. Let's review the places of interest in alphabetical order. In the heart of the historic center of Palma, in the Plaza de Cort, is the Ayuntamiento, the City Hall. The building that houses the City Hall was formerly the seat of the courts. It is a 17th century building that mixes architectural styles and has a beautiful roof which still retains the original woodwork of that same century. On the Baroque facade of the City Hall, you will see a large stone bench, popularly known as the Lazy Man's Bench, because legend has it that the locals used it to sit here to sunbathe instead of going to work. If it's open, take the opportunity to have a quick look at the hall inside. Access is free and you'll be able to see the beauty of the building from the inside as well. The Plaza de Cort, where the town hall is located, is a traditional meeting point in the city of Palma. To the right of the City Hall, occupying the Royal Palace, a 19th century neo-Gothic building, is the seat of the Consell Insular de Mallorca, the island's government. One of the most recognizable points of the square is a centuries-old olive tree, to which some sources attribute 600 years of age, others 800. The tree was born and grew in another part of the island and was moved to Palma in 1989. Its whimsical shapes are magnificent. To get to the Arab Baths of Palma, you will have to make a real expedition through the streets of the historic center of the city, always following the signs that clearly show you the way. The Baños Árabes, the Arab Baths of Palma, are one of the most outstanding examples of Muslim architecture in the city. They are quite small and are located in a beautiful garden, in the stately home of Khan Pit. These 11th century baths were probably part of the palace of a Muslim nobleman. You will enter through a horseshoe-arched doorway and arrive at the central room, square in plan, with an elaborate brick dome in the shape of a half-sphere supported by 12 columns and several skylights. The capitals of the columns are very diverse, due to the fact that remains of other buildings were used in its construction. This room was used for hot baths and the hot water circulated through a double floor. The entrance to the Arab Baths is paid. Link to all the details in the first comment below the video. The Spanish financial institution La Caixa has a network of excellent cultural centers called Caixa Forum, almost always at prominent addresses in the cities where they are located. Palma's center is no different. It occupies what was once the Gran Hotel, a project by Catalan modernist architect Lluís Domènech i Montaner. It is one of the best examples of the modernist style in Palma, with its characteristic use of brick, stone, ceramics and wrought iron. The facade is in neo-Gothic style with the typical floral motifs so dear to the architect. If your stay in Palma is quick, you won't have time to visit the center's exhibitions, but we recommend that you come and see the building from the outside. Visits to the exhibitions are paid. Dominating the city of Palma at 112 meters above sea level, the Castel de Belver Castle, is the great fortress of the city and one of the most spectacular viewpoints of the island. Its name in Old Catalan means beautiful view. It is a Gothic castle with an unusual circular format. King Jaime II ordered the construction of the castle in 1300. Destined to be the royal residence and seat of the court. That is why it mixes elements of a palace with those of a defensive fortress. In the castle you will see 3 original towers integrated into the circular structure, and a 4th keep added later and erected on the outside of the castle. The palace has 2 floors around the central courtyard, which has a gallery of Gothic arches. At present, the castle belongs to the City Council of Palma. In its splendid inner courtyard, cultural shows are held throughout the year. During your visit to the castle, you can stroll through the lower courtyard. You can also go up and around the castle, following the gallery on the 1st floor. And you can go up to the terrace of the castle, where we cannot really tell which is more interesting, the view of the castle courtyard from above or the view out over the castle, Palma, the mountains and the countryside around the city. Several rooms on the ground floor of the castle are occupied by the interesting Museo de Historia de la Ciutat, City History Museum, a museum run by Palma City Council that presents the history of the city over the centuries. If you are interested in history, you will enjoy the contents of the museum. You have to pay to visit the castle, but it is worth it, both for the views and for the building. It is one of those places in Palma that you should not miss. That, despite the fact that being a bit far away, it is a bit complicated to get there. The castle can only be reached by car, cab, Uber or the tourist bus of Palma. To get there by public transport, you have to get on a city bus, get off at Joan Miró Avenue near the port and start climbing. First through the streets of the neighborhood, following the signs, and then by endless flights of stairs. Several viewpoints allow you to rest along the way while contemplating the views of Palma. It is a steep climb. The stairs are in perfect condition, but on a hot day it can be a tough climb. When you reach the road in front of the castle, first turn left to buy tickets at the castle ticket office. Do not go up the last flight of stairs to the castle without buying tickets first. The Cathedral of Palma, known as the Cathedral of Mallorca and also as La Seu, is one of the best known images of the capital of the Balearic Islands. With its extraordinary location by the sea, it is one of the great Gothic cathedrals of Europe. No matter from which angle you look at it, it always impresses with its size and unique location. Construction of the cathedral began in the 13th century on the site of a former mosque, and the work went on for several centuries. The cathedral has 3 naves, which were probably not foreseen in the original project. The effects created by the light inside the temple have earned it the nickname Cathedral of Light. If possible, try to visit the interior of the cathedral on a sunny day to fully appreciate the wonderful effect of the sun's rays filtered through the numerous stained glass windows that can be seen inside the temple. The cathedral's gigantic rose window is largely responsible for this multicolored light bath. At 11 meters in diameter, it is the largest Gothic rose window in the world. It is composed of more than 1100 different colored panes of glass, forming a perfect Star of David. Between 1904 and 1914, the modernist architect Antoni Gaudí worked on the remodeling of the cathedral, during which he introduced several changes to create an even freer space. To give more importance to the high altar, Gaudí and his collaborator Josep Maria Jujol designed a baldachin, which was never completed due to disagreements between the architect and the contractor. What you see today in the cathedral, although it might not look like it, it's a life-size model of Gaudí's original project. More recently, in the 21st century, another controversial renovation took place. Local artist Miquel Barceló was responsible for a new renovation between 2001 and 2006, adding a representation of the Eucharist and the wedding at Cana that proved highly controversial due to the modern language employed by the artist. There are many other places of interest inside the cathedral that you will discover during your visit, including numerous chapels. You have to pay to visit the interior of the cathedral. There are several types of visits. The basic one, the cheapest one, includes the interior of the temple and the cathedral museum, which has pieces of great value. This basic ticket should be enough for many people. There are also tickets that allow you to go up the terraces of the cathedral. Link in the first comment below the video. The Baluard de Sant Pere is one of the largest and most impressive defensive fortifications of Palma's wall system, a system we will talk about later. The Es Baluard Museu is a museum located inside the fortification next to the port of Palma and the neighborhood of Santa Catalina. The main building of the museum, designed in 2003, was erected inside the bastion. Its 3 floors are connected by ramps and have large outdoor spaces. It is a very interesting project where art merges with the historical architecture and the old wall, always present in the project. The Es Baluard Museum is a contemporary art center with a collection of more than 800 works from the late 19th century to the present, including in its permanent collection authors such as Léger, Miró, Oteiza, Picasso and Tapies. If you are interested in contemporary art, you will love to visit the museum, which not only has a permanent collection, but also receives temporary exhibitions. There is a fee to visit the museum. Whatever your interest in contemporary art, the museum is worth a visit to stroll through its spectacular terraces and outdoor spaces. Some of these spaces are only accessible to those who enter to visit the museum, but many others are outside the museum and open to the public. The Jewish community of Palma was very important. During the Muslim presence in the city, the Juderia, the Jewish quarter, known also as Cal Mayor, was a sort of independent city. Today there are not many buildings left from that time, but at the beginning of Sol Street you can see a small plaque on the ground indicating the entrance to the neighborhood. One of the highlights of the Jewish quarter is the Church of Montesion, which occupies the site of the old major synagogue of Palma. Very little of the synagogue remains. The Lonja de Palma is a magnificent example of Gothic civil architecture, an elegant and harmonious space built in the 13th century to be the headquarters where local merchants did their businesses near the port of Palma. If you have ever visited the exceptional Lonja de la Seda in Valencia, it will remind you a lot of this building, with its columns that mimic large stone trees that rise to great heights. The visit to the Lonja is quick and you will not spend much time there. Access is free. Art installations are often placed inside. La Lonja offers an oasis of tranquility in the middle of a very lively neighborhood full of tourists. Palma still preserves the tradition of food markets, where locals go to do their shopping. The Mercat del Olivar, in the heart of Palma's historic center, is one of those markets that you should visit. It was built in 1951 and consists of 2 wings that come together. It gets plenty of natural light, and the different food stalls are grouped according to the product they sell. The fish stalls in particular are spectacular, and you will see many locals shopping there. On the first floor of the market there is a supermarket. In between stalls you will find many bars offering food for those who want to sit down and enjoy the delights of Palma. The second market worth visiting is the Mercat de Santa Catalina, built in 1920 and the oldest market in Palma. It is in the neighborhood of Santa Catalina, which we will talk about later. It has stalls selling fish, meat, vegetables and sweets, but also many bars aimed at a mostly foreign public. Modernism was the name given in Spain to the artistic style known in other parts of Europe as Art Nouveau. Barcelona was the main center of modernism in the country, but there are also excellent examples in many other cities in Spain. One of these is Palma, where modernism arrived in force in the late 19th century and early 20th century. We will mention here 4 modernist landmarks in the center of Palma. The first is Can Casasayas, formed by 2 symmetrical buildings separated by a narrow street. In the facade and the forging, you will discover elements of nature. Close to the city hall, Can Corbella is a very original building from the 19th century in a style that heralds modernism and incorporates neo-mudéjar elements with influences from Hispanic Muslim art. The last 2 examples of modernism share the same block. On the right, Almacenes El Águila, a 1908 building that was designed to be the headquarters of a department store, taking maximum advantage of the facade to obtain natural light. That facade reveals clear influences of the Viennese succession. To its left, Can Fortesa Grey, one of the great jewels of modernism in Palma, with very clear influences of Catalan modernism and works such as Gaudi's Casa Batlló. It was conceived as a residential building with a facade richly decorated with plant and animal motifs, including the face of a monster surrounded by dragons. Ceramics, wrought iron, wood and stone are masterfully combined. Until almost the 20th century, Palma was a fortress city with a 6-kilometer long wall and several bastions. The walls were completed by the Muslims in the 12th century on the foundations of ancient Roman fortifications. Today, visitors can walk along several sections of the medieval wall, especially in the part closest to the Cathedral of Palma, next to the Parc de la Mar, which we will talk about in a minute. Take the opportunity to walk along these remains, as the views are always splendid. There are still 2 bastions, witnesses of the Renaissance military architecture built to protect Palma. One is the Baluard de Sant Pere, which today houses the Es Baluard Museum that we have already seen in the video. The other is the Baluard des Príncep, built by Philip II in 1575 with beautiful views of the port of Palma. The Juan March Foundation is a museum worth visiting, both for its content dedicated to 20th century Spanish art and for the building that houses it in an old 17th century manor house modernized over the centuries. It was also the first headquarters of Banca March, owner of the museum. It is a very interesting corner of the historic center of Palma that we recommend visiting. The museum's collection includes works by Picasso, Miró, Dalí, Gris, Tapies and Barceló. Admission to the foundation is free. Despite being located in one of the busiest streets in the center of Palma, the museum is usually very quiet. The Royal Palace of the Almudaina is one of the most outstanding monuments of Palma, due to its historical importance and its location next to the cathedral. It is a building that has been a privileged witness of the history of the city. Originally built by the Romans, it was reformed by the Muslims and later converted into a fortress. And during all that time, it was the seat of power on the island. The castle was built in the early 14th century for King Jaime II. Later, it was the seat of the audience and the residence of the viceroy and the captain general. The structure of the palace that you can tour today has not changed much from the 14th century. The King's Palace, the Queen's Palace, and the Chapel of St. Anna stand out. You may hear or read that the palace is now the official residence of the King of Spain when he visits Mallorca. The reality is that neither he or his family sleeps at the palace. They do so at Marivent Palace, which is several kilometers away. The Almudaina is used for official receptions and other protocol acts. The palace belongs to the Spanish national heritage. There is a fee to visit the palace, but there are free visiting times for European Union and Latin American citizens. 2 afternoons a week. You will find information in the link below the video. During the visit, you will walk through different areas of the interior of the palace, which has a solemn appearance. In the main courtyard, you will see a white marble lion as a reminder of the Muslim past of the Almudaina. The Parc de la Mar is one of the most beautiful green spaces in Palma, favored by the fact that it is located between the Cathedral of Palma and the sea. It was built in the 1970s and has a large saltwater lake, which serves as a reminder of how the sea almost reached the cathedral. It is a public space where numerous events and celebrations take place, such as the Feast of St. John. In the park you can see several works of art, including a very beautiful mural by Joan Miró. Paseo del Born is one of the most elegant addresses in Palma. The promenade is home to numerous stores, including luxury brands, bars, cafes and restaurants. Here you will also find the Casal Solleric, which we will talk about later in the section on patios, on courtyards. The promenade has changed a lot over the centuries. In 1883, the sphinxes at the ends were added. The patios of the houses of the most powerful families of the city in the historic center of Palma constitute today a rich heritage. The patios had a very important social function, which today has been lost as most of them have been closed. The origins of Palma's patios date back to Roman times. Later, they were incorporated by Islamic architecture and also adopted the style of the medieval houses of Catalonia. But the heyday of Palma's patios came in the Baroque period between the 17th and 18th centuries. Walking through the oldest part of the center of Palma, you will find several patios. Most of them are closed, but in many you can take a look from the outside. 2 patios that can be visited and should not be missed are Casal Solleric, a cultural center run by the Palma City Council that occupies an 18th century building, the result of the merger of several houses. Both the courtyard, one of the most elegant in the city, with a magnificent imperial staircase, and the cultural center can be visited free of charge. Can Balaguer, also known as Casal Balaguer, is another cultural center with one of the most beautiful patios in Palma. On the upper floors of Can Balaguer, there are 2 permanent exhibitions, one dedicated to explaining the interiors of Palma's stately homes between the 18th century and 20th centuries, with many furnished rooms, and another very small exhibition on the Middle Ages. Admission to Can Balaguer is free. Palma's Plaza Mayor main square occupies the site of the former convent of San Felipe Neri. Until 1823, it was the seat of the Inquisition. It has a rectangular shape with arcades on all 4 sides and buildings of 3 or 4 floors. Several times a week, a small craft market is held in the square. It is a very lively area in the center of Palma. We have already visited the Santa Catalina market, the heart of the neighborhood of the same name, an old fisherman's neighborhood that owes its name to Saint Catherine of Alexandria, patron saint of sailors and merchants. In the neighborhood you can also see 18th century mills where corn was milled. A neighborhood that was once humble and today lives a rampant process of gentrification that is changing its identity and authenticity. In some parts of the neighborhood, today you will now find stores, bars and restaurants aimed almost exclusively at foreign tourists. Sort del Rey, the King's Orchard, is a small garden located at the foot of the Almudaina Palace and created in the 16th century by the monarchs of Majorca. The orchard was part of the royal castle and was later incorporated into the city. At the beginning of the 20th century, 3 gardens were designed that combined the Hispano-Muslim, Renaissance and Majorcan garden traditions. There are several works of art in the gardens, including a Calder mobile and sculptures by Joan Miró and Subirac. It is a spectacular place to sit and rest on any tour of Palma. We cannot fail to mention 2 other experiences closely associated with a trip to Palma, even if they are not in the city. The first is the Tren de Sóller, the Sóller train. Those who visit Palma with enough time can enjoy a sensational trip on the Tren de Sóller, a picturesque train that departs from the center of Palma, crosses the Tramuntana mountain range and arrives at the village of Sóller near the north coast of the island. The journey is made aboard the original wooden carriages of the train, built in the early 20th century. The journey is 27 kilometers long and lasts for an hour. When you arrive in the village of Sóller, you should take an old wooden streetcar from the town to the port. The distance is too long to be covered on foot. You will go by a streetcar. The Sóller train is in high demand, so don't leave the purchase of tickets to the last minute. And remember to buy a round-trip ticket that includes both the train and the streetcar. The second experience are the beaches. Anyone visiting Palma will probably want to visit the wonderful beaches of the island. Majorca has amazing and dazzling beaches, but unfortunately they are not found in the region of the capital. We are not going to say that there are no beaches in the city of Palma and the neighboring towns, because that would be untrue. And right now we are showing you on the screen what some of those beaches look like. But to see wonderful beaches like the ones we are showing you now, with that absolutely incredible color of the sea, you will have to leave Palma and head mainly, but not exclusively, towards the east coast of the island, a probable continuation for a wonderful journey that may have started in Palma. What would be the best time of the year to visit Palma? The city of Palma can be visited all year round, from January to December. In winter, it can be coolish, and it can even snow in the Tramontana mountains not far from the capital. But all the places described in the video can be visited regardless of the time of the year. And if you go in winter, you will enjoy an unusually quiet city. However, if you want to combine your visit to Palma with a trip to the wonderful beaches of the island, it would be a good idea to choose a date between late May and early October to be able to enjoy the beaches. The closer to July and August, the greater the warranty of good weather. The problem is that it is high season on the island, with overcrowding and absurdly expensive prices. The balance is difficult. Good weather comes hand in hand with overcrowding. The tranquility only outside the beach season. If you want to have enough time to explore many of the places shown in the video, you will need 2 full days in Palma. With less time, you will have to eliminate places to visit from your list. At the end of the video, we will present you with an itinerary for Palma in 1 day that we have designed for those who cannot dedicate more time to the city. To get to know Palma, it is best to stay in Palma. The weak point of this principle is that the prices of hotels in the city of Palma are among the most expensive in Spain. For that reason, many people who want to save money end up looking for accommodation in the areas of Playa de Palma and Arenal, near the capital. Both areas have cheaper hotels and public transportation to the center of Palma, but during the high season, the buses can be completely full and getting around can be really difficult. If you have any doubts about the location of your hotel, don't hesitate to ask. If you visit Palma, you have to try the ensaimadas, the most famous dessert of the island. It has a circular shape and can be large, to share, or individual. It is sold in a cardboard box of a very characteristic format, which you will see in many of the city's pastry shops, and in the airport as well. The ensaimada is a centuries-old dessert made with strong flour, water, sugar, eggs, sourdough, and lard. It is usually served with powdered sugar on top. The ensaimadas are a handmade product, which means that there are big differences from one place to another. The protected geographical indication of the ensaimada only recognizes as Ensaimada de Mallorca those with no filling and the one filled with cabello de ángel, a transparent threaded jam made from pumpkin pulp. But there are many other types of ensaimadas. They can be ordered with whipped cream, burnt cream, chocolate, or even apricots. There are plenty of places that sell ensaimadas, which can be eaten at any time of the day. Our favorite places are the bakery Horno Santo Cristo, which has several shops in the center of Palma, and our favorite ensaimada, the one served at Can Juan de Saigo, which has several shops in Palma. Be sure to visit the address on Can San Street, which is absolutely beautiful. A final comment on the ensaimadas: we love them, although they taste a little too sweet for our palate. And there sure isn't a nutritionist on the planet who can recommend them as healthy food. Palma is on an island and there are two ways to get there, by boat or by plane. By boat you can get to Palma on ferries departing from Barcelona, Valencia and Denia on the mainland peninsula, and from Menorca and Ibiza on the Balearics. You can also arrive by cruise ship. If you arrive by plane, you will land at Palma Airport, also known as Son San Juan Airport, IATA code PMI. The airport is close to the city and receives flights from many Spanish and also international airports. The number of airports with flights to Palma is really incredible. It is one of the most important airports in Spain, and especially during the beach season, it receives a huge traffic of tourists. To get to the city, you can take a cab or a special bus from the airport. The way out of the airport is very well signposted. You will exit outside the airport, walk down a long walkway, and at the end of the walkway, when you reach a traffic light, you will turn left to find the Airport Express bus stops. The A1 bus will take you to the center of the city. The A2 bus will take you to the Arenal area. If you know you are also going back to the airport by bus, take advantage of the machines at the bus stops to buy a round-trip ticket. It will be cheaper than buying two separate one-way trips. At the airport there are also other bus lines to different points of the island of Mallorca. They are yellow and red, and you can pay the trip with a contactless bank card when you get on the bus. Within Palma you will mostly walk. Distances are short and it is a pleasure to visit the city on foot. But if you need a bus, the local buses are white, operated by the EMT company. You can buy your ticket from the driver, paying with money. At the moment, card payments are not accepted on board. The problem with the local buses is that some of the lines, especially those serving hotels outside Palma, in places such as Can Pastilla or El Arenal, are completely saturated, overwhelmed by demand, with sometimes monstrous queues. There is also a tourist hop-on, hop-off bus operating a single route, which includes a visit to Belver Castle. We'll leave you the link in the first comment below the video in case you are interested. Cabs and Uber operate in Palma, both quite expensive compared to other Spanish cities. Here's a suggested itinerary for those who unfortunately only have one day in Mallorca. You may stop over on a cruise ship or continue your trip to the island's beaches. Let's take a look at the map. The route starts at the Castel de Belver with extraordinary views of the city. You can get there by cab, tourist bus, or by climbing the sequence of stairs we have shown in the video. Leaving the castle, the rest of the itinerary runs through the historic center of Palma, an architectural and cultural marvel. A good place to continue the itinerary is the Baluarte de Sant Pere, where the Es Baluard Museum is located. It is a very pleasant 30-minute walk from the castle to the bastion, but you can also take a cab. Even if you do not enter the museum in the fortress, it is worth starting the tour here for the beauty of the place. From here, the rest of the tour is on foot. Leaving the bastion, the first stop is the Lonja de Palma. Later you will head to the gardens of Sort del Rey and then stroll through the Parc de la Mar and admire the cathedral. The Almudaina and the cathedral are the most important visits of the day, and in the second half of the day you will also visit the town hall, the main square and Can Balaguer to discover the patios of Palma, ending the tour in the elegant Paseo del Born. Where you choose to eat will depend on your pace, but the city center is full of bars and restaurants. And with this proposed one-day itinerary, we have come to the end of a video dedicated to a beautiful city like few others, Palma. But before we say goodbye, we would like to make one final reflection. The island of Mallorca has long been one of Spain's top tourist destinations. But the uncontrolled growth of tourism that the country is experiencing at the moment is creating a tourist experience that it is far from satisfactory. If you visit Palma during the island's beach season, you may feel that the presence of holidaymakers and the associated overcrowding is becoming quite unbearable. Arrive prepared and try to reduce your impact on the lives of the city's inhabitants, who are the ones who have to foot the bill for this uncontrolled tourism. As always, if you have any questions about the subject of the video, about Palma, take advantage of the commentary box to ask. We will be happy to try to help you. Spending too little time in Palma would be a big mistake. On the screen, you will see now a list of videos with other mistakes you should avoid making when visiting Spain and Portugal. We look forward to seeing you in those videos.